This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
The Yankees have an 80.7% chance of still making the playoffs. That just tells you that parity is alive and well in Major League Baseball, where mediocre teams can still make the playoffs, and the Yankees are mediocre but have above mediocre talent. So if they can put it together, you still got an 80% chance of playing postseason baseball.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
I was that confused trying to figure out why Cameron Young isn't as good as he should be, because we've seen all the flashes. Like at some point of his career, he's been elite at something. Like he's been elite at putting this year. He's been an elite iron player. He's been an elite driver of the golf ball. So check out this chart I had to get.
We got a chart.
Look at this chart that I had to come up with.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
An HRR, parlay a combo that you want to do. I generally prefer away teams and players that hit at the top of the lineup or in the top half, just because you are guaranteed just that extra plate appearance here or there. How many times, throughout the season, I've been like, listen, if this guy gets on, he will have one more at bat in the ninth inning. And if he doesn't get there, he doesn't get there. If you just take them that place higher, they're going to be in a spot to cash that bag.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Minnesota Twins no longer for sale. Plus, will the expensive WNBA relocation fee sway the move of the Sun out of Connecticut? Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from FOS Studios in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington, and thank you guys so much for joining us each and every weekday as we chat the biggest stories in the business and culture of sports. We have a big show ahead, including the growing number of eligibility lawsuits the NCAA has been hit with. But first, let's dive right into the headlines and the shoot-around.
Yeah, Renee, and let's start in the NFL as ESPN's Adam Schefter says the Bills and star running back James Cook have agreed on a new 4-year, $48 million contract with $30 million in guarantees. This would presumably rank Cook third among all running backs in terms of guaranteed money, right behind Saquon Barkley and Ashton Genty. So, Renee, this deal actually could keep Cook in Buffalo until 2029, so good deal for him.
Yeah, and as his agent, Zach Killer, told us on the show yesterday, and even quarterback reigning MVP Josh Allen has mentioned, they wanted to keep him in Buffalo. He wanted to be in Buffalo. So we knew this deal felt like it was closer to getting done. And as you mentioned, for him to come off that 4-year rookie contract where he has $5.8 million to now get this extension done, that $30 million in guaranteed, the highest a running back's been offered in guaranteed money in the last 5 years, and now puts him as a 2-time Pro Bowler, the 6th highest paid running back across the league in average annual value, 3rd highest by guaranteed, as you mentioned, and the highest paid by total value. So he's now in the conversation financially, as you mentioned, with Saquon Barkley, with Derrick Henry, with Christian McCaffrey. So a massive move, plus the 6th contract extension for the Bills, including Josh Allen's 6-year extension he received.
Locking everybody up this year. Good for them. Meanwhile, Shohei Ohtani and his agent were sued by a Hawaii real estate agent and a developer over a $240 million housing development in Hawaii. This is where the Dodgers star purchased a $17 million home and would use his name and image to promote the development. Now, the real estate agent and the developer claimed that Ohtani's agent conducted a calculated and unlawful scheme to get them removed from the project. The development group working with Ohtani and the agent, though, however, are denying these claims, Renee.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if you search for Shohei Ohtani, as of this morning, most stories about the triple play he hit into against his former team, the Angels. There's nothing about this story. And yet again, another story around Shohei Ohtani with someone in his team getting involved in something illegal and scandalous. Now, we all know about the sports gambling controversy around Ohtani's former interpreter, APA Mizuhara, stealing nearly $17 million, and now this. And what's interesting is, these aren't small incidents.
No, these are big.
Ohtani was brought in as a celebrity endorser. His agent, Nez Bilalo, also involved. They've been accused of sabotaging luxury real estate. They've been accused of just being disruptive. And also, as they quoted, on numerous occasions, the plaintiffs were told that unless they conceded to Bilalo's ever-increasing demands, Ohtani would walk. This is not a good look. And some reports are alleging it's more on Bilalo, but Shohei Ohtani, yet again, the three-time MVP, right there in the mix of some controversy.
And the development company, the allegations against them were they were doing everything they could to keep Ohtani in the project, which is why.
How many times, Shohei Ohtani? How many times?
All right, let's move to soccer as Inter Miami traded longtime starting goalkeeper Drake Callender to Charlotte FC. This, according to Give Me Sports' Tom Bogert. Callender played a club record 118 games for Miami and was the only player left from the club's original 2020 roster. Additionally, Inter Miami is reportedly in advanced talks to sign Argentine defender Gonzalo Piovi. So, Renee, a lot of moves happening in Miami. What do we think of these, and are they there to appease Messi?
Miami already has the current the highest payroll across Major League Soccer. They already have all their DPs. They have to make moves, so you have to capitalize on having Messi on your squad. But they're adding now. They've got the 10th potential player from Argentina that they would be adding in Gonzalo Piovi. And on top of that, they've been making room. They already signed and sold, I should say, earlier this week, Federico Redondo to Spain to a $2.5 million deal. They already traded away Drake Callender, who was their starting goalkeeper for 3 years. And now, in addition to adding previously Rodrigo De Paul, also from Argentina, they've got another big name center back from Argentina that they've been able to add. So making moves to be able to be a playoff team and win titles around
that. Right now they're 8th in the Eastern Conference. All right, let's move to the WNBA and the future of the Connecticut Sun as the state and billionaire Mark Lazary have reportedly matched that $325 million bid that could potentially keep the team in the state. However, the WNBA is seeking a record relocation fee and might prefer to move the team to Boston or even Houston. So what happens with the Sun? Well, let's take a look in our main event. All right, let's bring in front office sports, women's sports reporter Annie Costabile. So Annie, where do things currently stand with the Sun in Connecticut?
Things are heating up, guys. Things are heating up. Obviously, we know the interested parties are the group in Boston, the group in Hartford, and now, there's been more discussion about whether or not this team could potentially end up in Houston. The league has been, I guess we could say vague, but honestly not even that vague about their desires for the team to end up in a location in a city that had previously put in an expansion bid, and atop that list is Houston. And so when we're considering where this team could end up, that preferred destination of Houston is becoming clearer. And according to multiple sources, that is the preferred destination for the league when it comes to the sale of the Sun.
So we had all thought with the $325 million report that came out around them getting sold, possibly moving to Boston, that was going to happen. What needs to happen for them to be moved to Houston or elsewhere?
Yeah, so this is a super layered situation, right? Because when Houston originally bid for an expansion team, it was part of the group that included the most recent teams that were awarded expansion teams, and that was Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia. And Houston was reportedly short of that $250 million bid. So now fast forward, the Sun are for sale, and that sale price of $325 million becomes public, right? The Boston Globe is first to report it. We confirm that. Now that number is out there, right? So that's the benchmark you would assume for the sale of this franchise. On top of that, there's expected to be a relocation fee. And now it comes down to, which ownership group is really willing to pay that $325 million. That again seems like it was a very strategic decision to get that sale price out there, because now that's the baseline. But on top of that, a relocation fee, because what we know is for expansion teams, they're paying a fee to the league. Mm-hmm. That $250 million expansion fee goes to the league. When a team is sold, the previous owner is the recipient of that sale price. You can't just have teams freely moving wherever they please, whenever they want. That's the decision of the league, which again is layered.
Well, and to that point, right now, the current owner of the Sun, the Mohegan Tribe, apparently there's reports that the preferred destination is to keep the team in Connecticut, which is why Mark Lazary, the former owner of the Bucks, submitted a bid in addition to the state of Connecticut to keep the team in Connecticut, but would move them to Hartford. What are the chances the team just stays in Connecticut? Is that an idea that the WNBA wants?
So there's, again, so many layers to this. To my knowledge, from the sources I've spoken to, if the Mohegan Tribe wanted to keep the team, wanted to sell to a group that was willing to keep the team in Uncasville, that would be approved by the WNBA, no problem, because there's no relocation involved. The hang up here is the relocation.
Very interesting. Well, I know last time the Atlanta Dream were sold, it was late 2020. They were sold and officially approved by early 2021 in February. This one seems like it's going to take a lot longer, Annie, especially with more people interested in acquiring a WNBA team currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's that desire to get into the business of the WNBA. The WNBA has more, power in terms of, influencing where a team ends up. Of course, the Mohegan Tribe are the owners of the team. They could take this sale off the market. They could completely, they have control in this situation too. There's a lot of ways in which they can control this situation, but the league is very much influencing where the team ends up as well.
And we all know, obviously, a ton of history in Houston. If the team does go there, the Houston Comets, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Comets have the most titles, right?
4 titles?
Yeah.
Four titles. I'm actually, like I mentioned, in Minnesota. Minnesota is a team with 4 titles. They can make history by winning their 5th. This year, they're in first place right now. So, yes, a lot of history in the WNBA, but that's another reason why preserving that history is important to a lot of people. So in a lot of people's minds, relocating the Sun, which is a storied franchise, to Houston and replacing that history with history that needs to be brought back is not necessarily the favored answer by a lot of fans, I would say.
All right. Annie Costabile, great reporting as always. You can read more of Annie's stuff on this on frontofficesports.com. Annie, thank you. Coming up next, everyone, more ownership news. The Twins apparently not for sale, and apparently the Blazers have found their new owner. That's next.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1, are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He was the first of the wide receivers selected. For some reason, he didn't get the same kind of publicity some other guys in the past have gotten, but I don't get it because I look at the scenario, I look at the talent, and I say he's everything you're going to want here. In PPR leagues, I think he's going to approach 100 catches this year as a rookie, and that's going to blow people's minds, but I think he's going to be that good.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. Well, an abrupt twist. The Minnesota Twins are no longer for sale. This is the longtime owners, the Pohlad family, say they're going to be keeping the franchise. Plus, we now know who's going to be owning the Portland Trailblazers, and there's some front office shakeup news happening with the Boston Celtics. So let's get to all the ownership news with FOS Deals reporter and asset class newsletter writer Ben Horney. So, Ben, let's start with the Twins. It seemed like a foregone conclusion that this team was going to get sold. Even Rob Manfred was saying that they were going to get sold. Why are the Pohlad family deciding to keep them?
So if you look back at what we reported and also what Rob Manfred said, what happened today actually isn't out of line with what people were saying. So what we were hearing was that there was going to be news on the Twins sale front within a few weeks. Rob Manfred said something to the effect of, I know something you don't know about the process. And what I was told today by a source is that the Pohlad family looked at various options on the table, that throughout the process, there were times that there were offers on the table and whatnot, and that they chose to go this route, which is selling stakes, limited, minority stakes, we don't know the size, to 2 groups. It's being done kind of as one deal, but it is 2 separate stakes to 2 different groups, one that's based in Minnesota, one that's based in New York. And that's all we really know for now. It sounds like we might find out the identities of the groups within a few weeks at this point.
Well, since the Pohlads bought the team back in 1984 for then $44 million, there's been a lot that we've seen from them over the years. Now, the team valuation is much higher, more around $1.7 billion, but they are still in $400 million worth of debt. How does this financially impact that aspect as well? Yeah. Does this make sense truly for where the Twins are financially?
So it seems like the debt pile that they have is part of why they're doing this deal. It sounds like they're bringing in investors who can provide capital that is going to help them pay down the debt. That's something that Joe Pohlad talked about a little bit in an interview with, I think, the Star Tribune today. And that also jives with what I heard in talking to a source, that this is going to give them financial capital to help with that situation. I also am told that, as it's been reported, they were looking for a valuation of $1.7 billion on the sale, and I was not able to confirm what this deal values the team at, but the suggestion was that the number that's been out there, that's what the team is valued at. So we don't know how much money's changing hands, but it sounds like the deal was at the valuation they were looking for, just not a full sale of the team.
And from a fan's perspective, they had a massive fire sale at the trade deadline. How much did that play a role in this news today?
Well, so when that happened, it's hard to know what the point of things is. It kind of could have suggested either way. It's like, well, the owners are out of here, so they're just cutting bait with everyone. Or maybe it was that they decided they needed to cut payroll and they're starting over and they're sticking around. Or who knows, maybe that was done just because it seemed like the right moves at the time. It's not clear how that's tied, if at all, to the new investors they're bringing in. But they did trade 10 or 11 players within a week or so before the trade deadline, including, I think, 8 on trade deadline day.
Right.
Yes, they got rid of a lot of their team, about 40% of their roster on trade deadline day all alone. But with these new groups, is this something that's common? It just doesn't feel normal that, in my opinion, when you look at this report, is this something that's the norm for baseball or for sports specifically?
Well, I think it's becoming more common to have, groups of ownership, right? You see that with the Lakers and the Celtics. Certainly the Celtics sale, it was announced. And then as reporting came out, it was like, well, now this investor's involved. Now this investor's involved. I think that with the rising valuations, you need more people with more money to do it. And I don't think it's totally unusual. I think that because the business of sports is getting so much more attention, that updates like this, people are really attuned to what's going on with the sale process. So a few years ago, maybe no one would have ever known that Allen and Company was the investment bank working on the deal and Hogan Lovells was the law firm. Now that's out there in the statement, that the family, that's actually the Blazers, the Hogan Lovells. Allen and Company is working on both the Blazers and the Twins deal. Now people know that sort of information.
Right. Well, let's talk about the Blazers.
Yes.
You sort of teed me up perfectly for this because now the Allen family, which had always owned the Blazers, put them up for sale, and it looks like we might have an owner. So who might it be? And will they stay in Portland?
So
big question.
Sportico reported out of nowhere today that the Blazers are being sold to a group led by the Carolina Hurricanes owner, Tom Dundon. I can confirm with a source that that's happening. We don't know much more other than that, although I feel pretty confident saying that the valuation is going to be around $4 billion. That was reported by ESPN, and that was suggested to me by a source to be accurate. So it sounds like the Blazers are being sold at a $4 billion valuation, which is very significant. Obviously less than the Celtics and the Lakers. That was $6 billion and $10 billion, respectively. But certainly big news when the Allen family put a statement out, I think it was in May, saying they were going to sell the team. It was suggested that this process might linger on into the start of the next season. So it sounds like they reached a deal before that happened.
Yeah, Tom Dundon, who bought the Hurricanes back in 2018. He's a majority owner for the PPA Tour, Major League Pickleball, now becomes part of the Trailblazers as the governor as well. Does this timeline make sense for the Blazers in terms of locking in Dundon, but also finalizing those last details? Is there anything else that needs to happen here?
There's probably a ton that needs to still happen there. This sort of feels like it's the first step, and I don't know how it leaked. But similar to, let's say, the Celtics deal, there was an announcement, and then there's a ton of activity, and that's, I know, what we're going to get to next.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's get into that. I mean,
Yes.
the Celtics, when Wick Grousbeck sold the Celtics to Bill Chisholm for $6.1 billion, the plan was for Grousbeck to stay on as the governor, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, or at least not as long as he wanted. What's the latest on this in 90 seconds?
Yeah, well, so when they first announced it, they said that Grousbeck was going to stay on as the team governor and CEO through the 2027-28 season. It's only 2025 right now, so that's a few seasons. We reported the other day that that's not the case anymore. Is that the deal's going to be closed imminently by the end of next week, we're told. And as part of them kind of buttoning up the process, it has been determined that Grousbeck is going to become the alternate governor upon the deal's closing. So he's not staying on at all anymore as leading the team. He'll still obviously have a major role. As the alternate governor, he can vote on league matters when the primary governor, that's going to be Bill Chisholm, is absent. But what they thought was going to happen is not going to happen. Grousbeck's out, essentially.
That's a pretty quick turnaround from when the announcement was made around the sale to now. In these final 30 seconds that we have with you, what changes? Is this about the Celtics, or is this more about the league maybe putting pressure for Grousbeck to be out?
Yeah, it's hard to know. It does seem like there is, the league doesn't really want people that aren't the controlling owners to have control. And that seems to be what happened with Mark Cuban and the Mavericks. It seems to be what happened here with Grousbeck and the Celtics. And we're also waiting to find out what's going to happen with Jeannie Buss and the Lakers. It's been reported that she's going to stay on for a while. It's been reported it could be at least 5 years. That's a long time. We're going to see as that process gets closer to closing whether that remains true.
You can read more about this in the Asset Class newsletter at frontofficesports.com. Ben Horney, thank you so much for joining us. And next, we're diving into the flood of eligibility lawsuits against the NCAA. That's next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
At a 30 teams game, only 10 have a winning record against left-handed pitchers. 10-19, and there's one team that's 12-12.
See, I
think it's the Yankees.
Yeah. See, I didn't know the exact number, Scott, but I would have, I knew where you were going with this. In which there's just not as many left-handed hitters. They're not as good against them.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You have to imagine it'll be Rory and Tommy. So that is just such a strong foursomes pairing. And then I look over here at the Americans. I'm like, golly, if Patrick Cantlay, they just need him to make the team because you got Scotty and Russell. If Xander's going out, you have to him and Pat have been so good in the foursomes. Bryson's going to have to play. Who's he going to play with?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington, Baker Machado. Well, the NCAA college football season is just a few weeks away, but the NCAA has been hit with a flood of eligibility requirement lawsuits as a lot of college players are trying to figure out how long they can play for a particular team. So for that, let's bring in our college football reporter, Amanda Kristovich. So tell us about these particular lawsuits, and then also, what are the current eligibility guidelines right now after the House settlement?
Right. So if you want to go back to the fall of 2024, the beginning of last season, the rules were pretty standard. You were only allowed to play 4 full years of NCAA sports. If you played at a junior college and you completed the year, that counted towards your eligibility, even though junior colleges are not NCAA. Of those 4 years, you have 5 calendar years to complete those 4 years. You can redshirt. Players were granted an extra year. The COVID year didn't count, right? So you have 5 years to complete that. Those are the rules that are the most important. And all of those rules pretty much are being challenged right now, as you said, through 33 at the minimum, at this exact moment, 33 lawsuits, and there will probably be more, that are talking about whether or not junior college should count towards eligibility, whether or not you should only have 5 years to complete your 4 years, and most importantly, whether or not you should even have 4 years
right.
of college. Let's say it takes you 5 or 6 years to finish undergrad, or let's say you want to go to a graduate program that takes more than a year. All of these things are being challenged in court right now.
So Amanda, with these 33 lawsuits since 2024, including a few that were just announced in the last week or so, as your reporting was indicating, are they finding a gap in the system? Like, what are the grounds of these lawsuits in terms of merit?
Yeah, the grounds are antitrust. The idea that, antitrust is really the thing that the NCAA has been losing on over and over and over again. That's the rules about the free market, right? So NIL restrictions, the house settlement, those are all the transfer portal rules that got blown open through a lawsuit. Those are all antitrust. And the argument now with these eligibility lawsuits is that the NCAA doesn't have the legal authority to set these eligibility rules because the NCAA doesn't have these antitrust protections. So that's kind of legally where they're going with this. And the NCAA, even in the cases that they've won so far, because they have won some of them, they haven't really gotten like a very clear-cut answer from judges about whether or not they do have the power to have these eligibility.
And we had an idea that there was going to be a flood of lawsuits after the House settlement anyway. I mean, the judge in that case essentially said that was going to happen. But are we waiting for Congress to sort of delineate what the rules are? And until Congress sort of says what those rules are, we're just going to see more of these lawsuits.
Yeah, so these lawsuits even started before the House settlement. The House settlement definitely empowered athletes to give, to sort of try their luck in court. But these eligibility lawsuits are relatively separate. We've seen a ton of them since the House settlement passed, but they are not necessarily even addressed in the House settlement. So I think at this point that the House settlement has just emboldened a lot of players, as have these other eligibility lawsuits, to kind of join the fray.
Wow, a lot to get to. College football season only a couple weeks away, but excited for that regardless. Amanda Kristovich, thank you so much. And let's bubble in over at the FOS water cooler. Well, Renee, Sportico released their updated NFL team valuations, and the most valuable franchise in the world, the Dallas Cowboys, now allegedly worth a staggering $12.8 billion. That's a 24% jump from last year. And the teams that increased their values the most over the last year, well, that would be the LA Rams and the New York Giants. They're number 2 and number 3 on the list. They rose 34% from the last year. Now, while we can't confirm the accuracy of these numbers, they obviously are fun to chat about. So, Renee, what stood out to you the most in these?
Still nothing fun when we're talking about the Cowboys either, but it is a massive, massive jump when you look at how the valuations are broken down in terms of like ticket sales, salaries, media, revenue, all the different components that you're seeing on average. Every team around the NFL worth about $7.13 billion, which is a 20% increase from last year. You have 9 teams, of the 32 that have made a 20% jump. And as you mentioned, 2 that have made more than 30%. That's an impressive increase when you look at last year compared to this year. So I think overall, the investment in the NFL continues to quadruple in that regard. Someone like Jerry Jones, who bought the Cowboys for $150 million, look at the number now of what the Cowboys are worth. And that was back in 1989. So regardless who you're a fan of, it is very remarkable to see how much NFL teams continue to jump. And I think that the investments in terms of ownerships and equity have also drastically helped those numbers move.
Right, and we know from the Giants and at least the Niners, there's been minority stakes in the team that have valued the franchise even higher than these valuations. So those are things to pay attention to. Plus, the Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, only went up 2 spots in the list. They're worth $8.4 billion. The Chiefs, by the way, the 16th most valuable team on this at $6.5 billion. Crazy. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Renee and I are back tomorrow. We'll see you next time.
Bye.